I talk a lot about letting go, and the reason I know that is because when I review a lot of the videos that I have on YouTube from these Wednesday night gatherings like this, a lot of them are labeled. Well, several of them are labeled letting go. They're just the theme is letting go, and this is kind of along those lines, but more particularly, I want to talk about what we should be letting go of and how to do this, this surrender and this renunciation or this letting go. So different words that we can use to describe it. And a lot of times when we mention letting go, a lot of people feel like they're giving up, and so that's why it's very, very hard for people to let go. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the real true practice of meditation is a practice in letting go, and that's where the healing quality comes from, and that's where the peace of mind comes from, and that's where that's what makes meditation work. If on the other side of the coin we try to bring something into our lives, manifestations or something like that, that is really not necessarily the work of meditation, but maybe like self-hypnosis or some kind of an Eastern practice like visualizations or imagery, where we're actually trying to create something and bring something into our life to make our life, maybe to make our life better. It's usually something to do with making our situation better, or our life, our how we appear, or how we go through life. And if we remember that meditation's really an act, it's designed to be an act of letting go, then we will notice that our meditations work much, much better. And they're much easier, and the mind will be much more quieter. And I'll try to explain why, but the act of letting go can be very hard for a lot of people. And the reason it's hard is because we feel as if we hang on to some of these things that we have difficulty letting go of, we feel like we'll get what we want eventually, that we will achieve this thing that we're having difficulty letting go of. So letting go, could be a material thing, it could be a mental thing, and or basically anything in between. In other words, anything that feels a little bit sticky for us, or that we can see as an attachment, is something that we could possibly let go of, and in many cases that we should let go of it, particularly in our meditation. So in our meditation we can become very sensitive to these things that we can let go of. And letting go is easy for the most part. I like to use the analogy of letting go of a handkerchief, and it's just opening the hand and the handkerchief falls to the ground. But can we leave it there? Can we let it lie there? And so we can say that we're letting go, or we're renouncing, we were surrendering. But do we let it lay there? Do we have to go back and pick it up? Especially if that handkerchief has our initials embroidered on the corner in gold little letters or something like that. They go, that's my handkerchief. I let it go, but I'm going to pick it up again. And it was a good example, but I want that handkerchief. And the act of letting go in that way is literally, physically letting go of something material. But how do we let go of something immaterial, something within the mind, like a belief, or something a memory, something from the past, or some creation that we made, something we're formulating for the future, something that we really want to happen for ourselves in the future in a certain way, and we keep thinking of it and keep building on it, and we can't set it down. It's like an attachment, but we probably don't even see it as an attachment, because it might be moral, it might be worthy, it might be something that, this is a worthy goal for myself, something that I can achieve, And when it's achieved, I can maybe help other people with it, or I'll be a better person. So I'll be a better person in the world for others. That type of thing. Not necessarily really ego-driven or anything like that, but anything that is sticky, anything that is some kind of a mental attachment or a physical attachment is something that we should consider letting go of. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said a little while ago. If we have difficulty letting go of something, it's because we believe that we're going to get what we want, and that if by letting go, we feel like that it's going to fizzle away, like it's not going to be there, or maybe like we're giving up, or that we're losers in some way. Maybe we've been holding this as an intention for so long, and all of a sudden we're quitters. We're just quitting, but that's not the case at all. Because we extend so much energy in hanging on to these things. I don't know if there's any way to measure it, but they say that I believe it's 25%, or maybe even more than that. Maybe it's more like 30% of our energy goes within the brain, the neuron activity within the brain, and that's a lot of energy compared to the rest of the body, physical and mental. And so most of our energy, I feel that most of our energy goes out into these things that we cannot let go of, these attachments, these creations of the future, and these memories of the past. All of our energy, I would just go so far as to say, all of our energy goes to these things. Because when we're able to let these things go, at least during our meditation, even during our meditation, that short period, like 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, or whatever it might be, if we can let that go, we feel energized within. And it's not like there's a surplus of energy that comes within that we're not allowing, and we're not using on these hanging on to these attachments that we have. And if we do the practice, it's evident. We can really feel that energy accumulating within, and it feels like inspiration. It feels like we're very inspired, not only to meditate, but to surrender these things, because it's actually very healthy. There's no stress. We are very present while we're doing it, and just beneficial all around, completely beneficial. And so if our intention is to let go of these attachments, we can feel it within the body. And so that's very key. So the biggest things that we can let go of, or that we should look at letting go of, particularly in meditation, is these feelings that we have. And if we're trying to create good feelings, we can actually let that go. If we're noticing feelings, I'm talking about feelings, emotions, and moods, and all that stuff. If we have moods and emotions and feelings pertaining to something that had happened, something that we're trying to maintain, something that was good and we're trying to maintain it, there's still a lot of energy going into that. If it's something negative, there's even more energy going into that. If there's a feeling of bettering our future, there's a great deal of energy going into that as well. And so meditation is not really a time to be doing these things. Now, the biggest feeling of all, and another reason, the primary reason why it's difficult to let go, is because these feelings ultimately are control. That we feel as if we have some control over all of this, and that's why very difficult to let go, because we feel like we're letting go of control. Control over us, control over our world, control over the situations that we've experienced or will experience, just control in general. So if we're ready to let go this ability or this need to control, that is the biggest attachment that we can let go of, period. And that is where we're going to feel the most benefit from, as far as things to let go of, is our belief and our feeling, the feeling, I'll say that again, feeling that we have control. And so, if we can do that in our meditation practice, then we can do it in our life. Because in our meditation, we become sensitive to all of this. We notice that we are trying to control, and control doesn't necessarily mean that it's the devil's work or that it's something really, really bad, like we're trying to control other people or anything like that. It's just that if we feel that we can't let go, we feel like we're letting go of any kind of control that we have. But if you notice that in the meditation, just give it a try. Allow yourself to let it go, and then just tell yourself, if I have to, I can pick it up later. I can pick up this go back to controlling my world. It's very, very subtle, but it's a part of everyone's life, and it's total freedom to be able to set that aside, to be able to let that go, that need to control, that feeling of control. It definitely is a feeling. And we'll notice when we do this work that there's all sorts of other types of feelings that come up as well. And how do we do this? We notice the energy behind the feeling. We don't want to necessarily label it as a feeling of control, or a feeling of jealousy, or a feeling of even hanging on, or a feeling of grasping or clinging or attachment, but noticing the energy that's behind it. And if we notice the energy that is behind it and what's created it, and maybe even the triggers, from the trigger to the energy that's actually pushing this feeling and ultimately this control, once we notice that, it'll dissipate and fall away. And that's when we're really getting someplace in our meditation. So again, letting go is a part of the meditation practices from the East. That's been a part of the practices for thousands and thousands of years. They anticipate, or historically they feel that meditation's been around for about 5,000 years. Probably started with the Hindu tradition, or even some offshoot of the Hindu tradition. And if we look at Buddhist meditation, that's 2,600 years ago. And when meditation made its way over to the East, or to the West here, in America particularly, and in Europe, it took a while, but it did change to kind of a manifestation and a way to create. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's, in some cases, it's a very viable practice, but the true heart of meditation is in the practice of letting go. And if we can let go of that need to control, even as subtle as it might be, we will get somewhere. We will notice how powerful our meditation practice can be for us. And gently close the eyes. And silently thank yourself for doing this practice this evening. I'm glad you're here, doing the practice, and you should be too. It's a very wonderful opportunity for you to learn a great deal about yourself, and consequently to learn a great deal about others. By learning more about ourselves and others, we can help more and more people through this journey. Just bring your attention to the body. Notice how the body feels. Is there any residual effects from the day? In other words, are there any areas of the body that might seem a little bit stiff, maybe from some activity that you did? A little bit sore maybe from working out or from doing some repetitive motion? How does the body feel as temperature wise? Do you feel cool enough, or do you feel warm? And just know that all these sensations of the body, that is usually the first thing to go. That's usually the first thing that we let go of once we start becoming a little bit concentrated. We start bringing our attention to thoughts and this type of thing. And we're not trying to stop our mind from going to thoughts, but it does help for them to be slowed down from their normal activity. In other words, their normal duration and speed that they come out. So when we're in meditation, the thoughts and the mental activity, the cognition slows down. And that's when we get more benefit by watching these thoughts. And really just being aware of them. So what we want to do is use the body to calm this down, and that's where we can focus on the breath or some aspect of the body, and this helps bring us into the present moment. So bring your attention to the breath, and when you do it, focus on the breath like you've never noticed it before, like it's something brand new. Just kind of act like this is your first meditation ever, and that your new discovery is the breath. And you notice the fine nuances of it, how it feels, the sensation, the movement, the moisture, the temperature. Find some aspect of the breath that really feels prominent. It might be very, very subtle, but prominent in that it speaks to you. And so the breath can really kind of be a friend for us during our meditation practice. Because it's literally directing us into the present moment. As we focus on the breath, we might notice that the mind wishes to wander. If you haven't noticed that already, then consider yourself quite lucky. A person can stay with the breath, and a lot of people do. They use the breath for their entire meditation. Most people will come back to it again and again throughout their meditation. The mind will wander off, and then there's a realization that we're thinking of something in the past or the future, perhaps, and then we come back to the breath. But what we want to do is, first of all, let go of any judgment about ourselves for being a good meditator or a bad meditator, or even a meditator at all. Just give ourselves permission to really enjoy this moment. That there's no intention to reach any kind of greatness or anything. And in fact, that we are this body sitting here, and this body is experiencing emotions and feelings, sensations. And we don't have to really pay too much attention to any of it. In fact, the more attention that we apply towards any of these things, the stickier they get, the more attachment can come up. So we might find the mind leaning towards the past, something that was done earlier today or maybe a long, long time ago. We might be planning something in the future. And as subtle as it might be, just notice how this feeling that comes about is a feeling of control for us. And we don't want to judge ourselves about that either. Just remind ourselves that the ultimate freedom is to be able to set this aside, to surrender it and to renounce it. And see if you can notice the energy that's behind thoughts of the past and how we want things to be in the future, how we wish to have things a particular way. And this includes having people, others, think the same way that we think, or to believe the same things we believe, or even pay attention to the same things that we pay attention to. This includes wanting others to do the same things that we do. Of course, believe in the same things. But even more so, it can be the idea of us having something in our possession, having something that we call ours that can ultimately make us feel a certain way. And we can use money as an example. Somebody that wishes to have a certain amount of money believes that that money will bring them what they want, which is a form of control. And eventually the money is not enough control, and they look for control in other areas of life. And ultimately, this can be the most important thing in the world to people, is this control. Even risking life. And so in our meditation, we want to notice anything that comes up that is even closely related to this, very subtle feelings of control. And know that much of it is just a part of the human behavior. And so again, we shouldn't judge ourselves for it. We should notice it. We should be aware. And if the mind wanders and we're not sure what to do, we can always come back to the breath. Alternatively, we want to watch and notice that energy that is behind the feeling. The energy that kind of persuades the mind and the cognition to go into the past or the future, rather than resting in the present moment. Let's bring our hands together in front of us if you like. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. And may we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face. Thank you. Good. Well, I hope everybody was able to let go of anything that they wanted to let go of, and more importantly, realize how to do it and what to look for, And if you were able to, then you know that there's energy behind it, and there's freedom as well, and probably a great amount of joy that we can find as a result. And letting go is never done. It's like we never come to a point where, okay, I found, I let go of everything and I'm done now. Because as soon as we find that we feel like we've accomplished a great deal of letting go, there's more that comes up. And it's just a part of it. It's just it's a never-ending practice, but it's not like an agonizing practice, because we can get very, very good at it just by recognizing, just by noticing. And if we find somebody in life that is very unhappy, kind of tormented in many ways, or just not, doesn't feel complete, I can guarantee it that somebody is somebody that has to let go of a few things in their life, something from the past, or any number of things. The analogy from the Buddha was, a lot of you probably heard this analogy, but it was the crossing from one shore to another. There was a man that wanted to cross the water, the water of samsara. Basically, we could say the lake of samsara, and he wanted to get to the other side, where he could find peace and happiness, And so he got on a boat and he made his way across the lake, and that he needed to cross. And then once he got on the other side, he realized that he really liked the boat. It was really he enjoyed the boat. Sometimes they use a raft as an analogy, but this person liked the boat. Then he realized that in order to be absolutely complete and free, he has to let go of the boat too. He had to let go of the boat and to continue his journey. And that's how it is. That's how it is for everybody's journey in life, is that we find that we use the vehicle to get where we want to be, whether it's we could look at meditation like that, but we come to a point where there's something else that we have to let go of, even that vehicle. And like I said before, there's always something to let go of, so to find the day where we can actually let go of the vehicle that got us to the point where we are. We're using meditation as an example. To give up meditation is very unlikely, because there's always something more to let go of. But every time every time we let go, every time we do that practice of letting go, we find more and more happiness, more and more freedom. Not only in meditation, but everyday life and everything that we do. That doesn't mean that we can't have possessions and we can't have things that bring us joy, but when we realize that things are really sticky, that we, have trouble letting go of any of this, that's when we have to look and realize what's going on. I almost call it a concept, but it's more of a feeling, and a feeling could be a concept too, but the idea of control, letting go of control. And the whole idea about that is that every argument, every disagreement, every war, and every difficulty that we've had as a human has probably stemmed from control. And we don't really see that in the animal world. Animals don't possess that kind of control that humans do. Where we want to control a situation or control another group of people or whatever it might be. I heard the other day that the earth, the world, that as we know it anyway, has been at war 92% of the time. So there was only peace 8% of the time in the world, where there wasn't actually any kind of war like one group of people against another or a country against another. I don't know how they figured that, or I don't know the statistics and that kind of thing about where that information came from, but it's very interesting. And so and that obviously comes from stems from one group of people wanting to control another group of people to some extent. And even today, we're looking at groups of people wanting to control other groups of people. We have the mask wearers that want the non-mask wearers to wear their mask, and we have the non-mask wearers that say that the mask is not helping that much and it's not necessary. So I don't have to wear a mask, and these people saying if you don't wear a mask, you're spreading the virus, and on and on and on. And the main thing is that we respect each other. We respect how each other's feel. It's very much. I mean, if we all realize that we don't have to judge, and it doesn't have to be a personal thing, and there's no ignorance involved. It's just a belief, and not push our beliefs on other people, we would find a lot more peace, in the situation. But that's just one example. There's lots of, we find a lot of people trying to control and persuade other people in their beliefs and the right way to do virtually anything. We could think of anything. The right way to drive a car, the right way to eat, the right things to eat, and the right way to sleep, or the right vitamins to take, and it's just everything. And again, the key is to notice that we're kind of slipping into that. We're slipping into that idea of not only judging but actually controlling others, and controlling ourselves to a certain degree too. If we can't let go of a belief, if we can't let go of a memory, in a way we're trying to control, in situations we're trying to control ourselves. In Christianity we hear surrender, surrender everything to God, or the higher power. In AA, surrendering, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's surrendering to a higher power. And you've probably heard me use the term renouncing or renunciation, renouncing a belief or renouncing control or renouncing our ownership of something in such a way that we're letting it go. But letting, just the term letting go or the words letting go it really sums it up, the ability to let go. And it's the opposite of grasping. It's the opposite of attachment. Letting go or clinging and hanging on is like this. Letting go is like this, like a openness, open palm. So at the end of the day, we can ask ourselves, what was I able to let go of today? And like I said in meditation, during meditation, maybe we want to pick it up later on. Not necessarily, but maybe we do. And a lot of times we can just experiment with that. Letting go of the attachment of a thought or something that's been on our mind all day long. Just letting that go, seeing how it feels, experiencing that. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.